I'm unfamiliar with Jennifer Belandi's work, but I was immediately drawn to the simple way in which she offered a complex critique through the use of recognizable objects. I was going with the American thing at first, and just seeing an open road of sorts made me think of notions of freedom associated with cars and trucks on the highway. The fact that if their trajectory was logically traced, it would lead to imperilment for the hand in question made the work menacing. It's kind of innocent at first because the trucks are toys, but they are imposing a certain restraint, a false sense of freedom that seemed to make sense in relation to other selected works that present a double edge. My subsequent choices revolved around portraiture, which is treated in a variety of ways in my selection. Some figures are recognizable and some are not. I thought that Christian Eckart's zoetrope portrait, Quantum Painting, number 2612, would be as formally aligned with Maria Elena Gonzalez's sculpture as it would be conceptually aligned with Darrell Ellis's untitled self-portrait. Lending to the reading of Gonzalez's pair of forms as characters of sorts, as well as drawing attention to the lack of disclosure in Ellis's portrait, it seemed to balance things out. I selected Darrell Ellis's untitled self-portrait mainly due to its emotional temperature, that is, kind of sad in the way that Arm of My Mother's Couch is sad. You can see the person, but they are incomplete, fragmented, or gone somehow. It discloses information in a way that is almost the opposite of Collier Shore's portrait, but still relies on a certain form of commercial photography, perhaps fashion, that elicits longing. Thinking about decor was the impetus for selecting Maria Elena Gonzalez's untitled sculpture. The institutional bathroom tile, no matter how formally utilized, will always seem mean to me. I read the configuration of the pieces as kind of aggressive, a face-off, for this reason. I'm always drawn to works that conceptually meld minimalist aesthetics with their presumed opposite, emotionalism. Attaching tawdry materials to austere forms is also a strategy that personifies the impersonal, revealing a desire to create other options through subjective choices. I selected Renee Green first because I've always been very interested in her work. As is often the case when working within institutions, it can take a long time before an appropriate opportunity to exhibit an artist's work presents itself. I think I suggested her for about 5 exhibitions in my last job, but it never happened. I'm interested in her conceptual project, which revolves around history, most recently the U.S. in the 60s, as well as her use of language, music, and popular culture. So it's very American, but somehow her work seems better understood elsewhere for some reason. Although political, the work is not didactic or reliant on obvious cultural signifiers. She repositions historical materials and directs them toward the future. Kerry James Marshall is a painter whom I admire, and I had never seen his works on paper. Seeing Memento reminded me of Catherine David's comments on his paintings, that they are about iconography, not painting. I have never understood exactly how the two are separable in his work. I am always struck equally by the apparent content or narrative elements of the paintings, as well as the stylistic choices that make the painting so all-encompassing, almost monumental. Although dealing with historical material, the work has immediate presence, like a mural that fast-forwards an event into view. I also chose Michael Miller's Gym Culture due to its use of a highly traditional medium, egg tempera, to describe a contemporary phenomenon, and because of its explicit title. I like the idea of having to look closely at the painting due to its intimate scale to understand the nature of his abstraction. The contrasting views of interiors, what look like organs or bones, and exteriors, racing stripes, things stretching, made the painting challenging to decipher, but his decision to name it with extreme clarity pretends to be easy. I found the painting curious in this way, so I couldn't dismiss it. After selecting works that address certain kinds of violence in a rather cool, intellectual way, I became very drawn to the aggression of David Scher's The Arm of My Mother's Couch. It is the most overtly emotional work selected, both in its awkwardness and its sentimentality. I think of it as a tender portrait of a person, but also as an expression of animosity due to the way the arm is cut off and attached to the wall. The time period suggested by the colors and styles of the domestic items also seemed fitting with other selected works, and these details could be read as iconic in their own way as well. Then I couldn't resist Collier Shore's Swedish Soldier. This pin-up boy problematizes desire and confounds the politics of looking due to its sheer sexiness. She is always daring the viewer to give in to it, despite their better judgment. The poster presents plenty of information that might dissuade one from indulgence, but the work plays on the power of seduction embedded in the photograph. Implying stories that are not really told, her listless images leave viewers wanting to know more. I think that this photograph, in relation to other selected works, also raises issues of whiteness and masculinity, current topics of debate, as her relationship to her subject is deliberately complicated. As I mentioned, I found Haim Steinbach's drinking containers to be a sinister combination in relation to American history and patriotism. The transformation of Mickey Mouse from his minstrel origins to the innocent and well-loved mouse he is today has been a subject of several contemporary artists. I thought this angle would be made more apparent through proximity to works that clearly draw on race history and question our perceptions of such prevalent American iconography.